Being a deep thinker does not necessarily mean you have a high IQ. Being a deep thinker does not necessarily mean that you see the world more accurately than other people do. Being a deep thinker does not mean that you have a problem or that it's bad. Today, I'm going to explain to you what the psychology is of a deep thinker. It is perhaps a misconception that somebody that proclaims to be a deep thinker is somebody that has a high IQ or a higher intelligence quotient. But what's really important to understand is to differentiate between IQ and a preference for thinking. There is a difference here. Somebody that has a higher IQ might not necessarily have a preference to actually think things through. And the inverse is true. Somebody that likes to actually think and, understand the things around them might not necessarily have a genius level IQ. There is a difference here. So IQ is basically your raw brain power. This is like the strength and speed of your brain right at the axon and neuron level. Whereas a preference for effortful thinking is more of a, you could say, a disposition or your preference, what you like to do. So think about it like this. Some people might prefer to drive a Lamborghini, but their car actually has the speed of a tricycle. Can you see the difference between the type of car you like to drive and the actual engine that's underlying that car? Where a person might like a Lamborghini, they might prefer a Lamborghini, but then their actual underlying raw power is something like, a bike or a Toyota Corolla. So unsurprisingly, in the psychology research, there is no agreed upon definition of a deep thinker, but it's generally operationalized like this. A deep thinker is someone that has a need for cognition, or they just like thinking. They like understanding things. They like exploring new ideas, but it's not enough to just say that, because people might think, well, I like to explore new things. I like to explore new ideas. So I guess I'm a deep thinker. What really makes someone a deep thinker is someone that really encodes the depth of the topic into their semantic memories, and they can connect all the related ideas within a subject matter in a big clump of memory in their brain. So it's important not to just see it as you have surface level knowledge of a topic, but you actually like to dismantle and understand and interconnect the big vacuum or ocean of ideas within not just a topic, but within really just life in general. So you take away that sort of primal caveman surface level analysis to really pull down into the deeper depths of the complex interrelated ideas within a subject matter. And that differentiates from someone with a higher IQ. Now, someone with a higher IQ would probably be able to do this quicker, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to. That someone with a higher IQ might be able to quickly dismantle and understand new ideas and encode them into semantic memory more meaningfully, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to. So the next question you might have then is, how do I become a deep thinker? If deep thinking is more of a choice, then how do you do it? Well, what it's really about is studying with the intent to understand. It's trying to actually grasp the concepts in and of themselves and then the related concepts. It's not enough to just kind of surface level read it and get a bit of a basic processing of it. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of understand that, a car is to drive to get me to point A to point B. It's really about understanding how the engine and the steering wheel, and the axons, and all the little bits and pieces, which I don't really know about, to be honest, but all the little bits and pieces within the car interrelate to get you where you need to be, and how maybe gravity and time of day and the psychology of the driver, how all these different factors come together to bring about the getting you from point A to point B, as an example. You might also be wondering, if you are there any uses to being a deep thinker, or it's just a whole lot of nothing that might lead to analysis paralysis and rumination? Well, actually, there are. There are plenty of benefits to being a deep thinker. For example, literally understanding things better so you can use the thing better is an example of where it actually serves you to try and really understand something, as opposed to just using it as you think it's supposed to be used. Also, the psychology research shows us that people that are deep thinkers, that actually helps to guard against conspiracy theories and conspiratorial beliefs, and actually really allows you to get to the surface, to the core of the truth. Will actually allow you to quite literally get to the core or to the truth. If you don't deeply engage with the topic, you just take it at surface level, you might fall victim to conspiratorial beliefs and distortions like that. So deep thinking literally helps you get to the core, to the truth. It also quite literally allows you to make more accurate decisions and accurate judgments. See, it's not enough to just make a judgment call about something. If you want to be a deep and better thinker, or just a more well-rounded person in general, what really helps is analyzing each little variable within the context before you make your judgment call, because your judgment call will be more multifaceted and account for different angles. This is super useful in the context of being a person with empathy, in the context of human interactions and human relationships, where if you can understand someone else's perspective better, you might be able to understand and empathize with them more, communicate with them more, and really just connect with them better. Finally, you might be wondering, are there any negatives to being a deep thinker or to effortfully engaging in thought and cognition? So deep thinking inherently isn't good or bad. Like anything, it's a skill to be used and trained correctly. So, for example, times when it can fall into the negative category is if it's excessive rumination in the context of depression. See, if you're trying to semantically link and encode deeper level variables about yourself, you take the deep thinking and focus it inward about yourself, and you try and link all the variables in your mind interrelatedly, that can spark is associated with depression, for example, because you might be trying to encode or understand at a deeper level your internal flaws, for example, or how wrong or badly you did something. And I guess you could akin it to going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole without anybody pulling you out. And once you're deep down in that rabbit hole, Alice sometimes gets trapped in Wonderland until, she finds the way out. Lastly, before we end the video, I'll give you a practical tip for how to be a effortful, deeper thinker. And it's actually really quite straightforward. Literally, don't go with just your first judgment about a situation. Actually, take a step back, try and understand the situation from at least two different angles, but preferably more, before you make a judgment and a conclusion about something. Bonus points if you can seek out an angle or a position that actually contradicts what you believe about a situation, and that makes someone a really deep thinker.